Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today, a brand new project, something that one of my viewers said he wanted to see me do, and I've never done it before. You can start to see the theme of I love trying things that I've never done before. So this viewer wants to see me do a set of leather moccasins. So I've been thinking you could go on the internet, you could see all kinds of moccasins, different designs. You can buy kits that's already pre-cut. You just put them together, stitch them or sew them together. But I wanted to do a custom set, and I wanted to do it out of one piece of leather. Most of these kits you get come in multiple pieces of leather. So I wanted to try it and see if I could do it with one piece of leather. So here's what I came up with. I came up with a pattern that I just made out of poster board, and there's my foot. You can see where I drew the outline of my foot. Then I just started measuring and cutting my cardboard. So what I come up with was 2 inches of height in the front, 2.5 inches of height in the back. That gives it a little bit of slope toward the back so it doesn't look so flat and squared off. And then also I had it, when I first started, this was all square. Well, you can imagine when I folded that over how funky that looked with just being a straight square moccasin or shoe. So what I did was I just kept moving that around and cutting it until I came up with a rounded, proportioned end to match my foot. And then on the back, I split that because, again, I want this all to be one piece. And as the back comes up, those 2 pieces in the back will fold over, and then that will stitch together down the back seam here as soon as I figure out exactly how long those pieces need to be. So this is the way I'll cut my leather out, using this pattern. And what I did was I made my pattern for my left foot, and then I'm just going to flip it over and use the other side for my right foot. So instead of making 2, like a lot of your kits will come just straight, they won't be curved or anything for your foot. Years and years ago, I got a pair of those, and they're very uncomfortable if you've ever worn those, because there's no, your foot naturally curves, and those are straight moccasins. So that's the way I'm going to do this. I've already cut out a couple of pieces of leather. It's probably about 5 or 6 ounce. It's not super thick, but it's not real thin, lightweight. And it's pre-dyed this light burgundy maroon wine color. So that's what I'm going to use. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so I want to make sure that I cut these 2 pieces of leather side by side so that they would color match really close. So I want to make sure that I keep those this direction and make sure I use the same top and the bottoms. So I'm going to set that one aside for a second. I'll take my pattern for my left, and again, this is the side that I made all my markings on, and it is marked left. And I'm just going to do my pattern tracing on the inside. And again, there's no doubt in my mind when I go to actually put these together that I'm going to have some little trimming to do before I actually do my stitching. We'll have to kind of dry fit everything and see how that goes. Again, I'm going to go ahead and outline the left hand side first. And we'll go ahead and cut that out before we do the right hand side, just in case we see anything really stick out to us after we cut the pattern out of the end of the leather. And then that way we'll won't ruin two pieces of the leather. So I'll get that out of the way. Let's go ahead and start cutting this left hand side of the leather out. And again, this is probably 5 to 6 ounce, 4 to 6 ounce leather, something like that. So it should cut fairly easy. Just follow along my outline here. I don't have any super tight radiuses, so I should be okay there. And let's turn this around so I can try to keep my arm out of your way here. And then as far as the soles, I think I am using the leather as the sole, but I think I'm going to get some nice insoles that'll cushion the feet. And put those in after I'm done here. So you can see that coming. I'll get some type of insoles and put those inside. Now, I was going to lace these, but I think after seeing how my pattern turned out and only using one piece of leather for each moccasin, I think I'm going to stitch them instead. So I think that'll look better. It won't be so gaudy looking, because if you use lace, then you're going to definitely see the stitching. It's going to stick out. So and if you want a rougher, more authentic look, then you may want to lace them instead of stitch them. That's a personal preference, I would believe. So we're almost finished with the first side, which is the left one, and I am going to mark it because it's going to look pretty similar. So I'm going to mark it up here with an L, and you're not going to see that when that tongue gets pulled over. So we've got, and like I said, you're going to have some of this end up being trimmed, like those little corners. Those will be modified a little bit. But as far as starting out with the pattern and getting the shape of the moccasin, and here's the rear. Where it'll come up and stitch here. So I think it's going to look pretty sharp. Won't know for sure until we get her going here. But let me get the right hand side and let's cut it out. Again, I'm just going to take my same pattern, rotate it for my right foot, so it's kind of like when I make a holster, if it's going to be right or left handed, a lot of times I can just flip that pattern over and change it from right-handed to left-handed. Again, I apologize if I stick my arm in the way here, but I want to make sure that I don't move my pattern as I'm tracing onto my leather. So I follow along with my offhand there. And there's my right. So I can put an R there on the inside of the tongue. And then go ahead and start cutting those pieces out of the right hand side. And it's, when making this pattern, the biggest problem that I had was trying to keep focused on making as many round shapes or rounded corner shapes as I could, instead of just squaring everything off. Now when I first started drawing this pattern, I drew everything square. Then I went back after I did that, then I started rounding off some of the corners and rounding off the toe. That way I didn't end up with a square box for a moccasin. And again, there's several of these kits out there. You can get them on the internet. That if you just want to buy the kit that comes with the lace or the thread, comes with all the pieces already pre-cut. You buy it for the size shoe that you wear. You can buy those. But again, that's something that someone else has cut out and prepared for you. And I just prefer to do my own patterns. Or there's patterns available out there too. If you don't want to make the pattern and you just want to make the custom leather part of it, where it's cut out and everything made by you, then you can just get a pattern and use it. Cut your own pieces. And then you can choose from there whether you want to stitch it, lace it. Alright, there is the second moccasin cut out. That's the right hand side. So I've got the left and the right, and they're just mirrored images of one another. So the next thing I need to do is I need to go through each one of these, and I need to decide and locate where am I going to put, like this is the tongue, where am I going to put all my stitching holes. So I'm going to concentrate on the front first. Then I'll move backwards toward the rear. And I believe I'll start with the left hand side. And I'm going to start with this tongue. And let's see how close we are. Looks like I'm going to have two trims. I'm going to have to round off this point of the tongue and this point of the side. So all I'm going to do is cut the point off of that. So I'll take my time and just round corner that. So I'm not taking very much material off of that at all. Just getting that point off of there. And let's see if that helped the situation here. Much better. Much better. So we'll flip it over and we'll do the other side and see how that turns out. And the same thing, I've got one point right down here. Remember me talking about the coming out like a box? So we'll get those sharp corners off of there, and that's going to turn out much better. So what'll happen is my stitching will come up. Need to round that off just a little bit more. My stitching will come up from the bottom front here is where it'll start, and then it'll go around the toe and then continue on down the top of here and the tongue, and then I'll stop up here toward the top of the tongue so that I have a little bit of the tongue hanging out. I don't want that stitched all the way to the top. I want to be able to have a little bit to grab a hold of and pull up on to slide my foot in there. So the front is trimmed. Again, I'm going to work from the front back, so I'm not worried about the back at this point. I'm going to double check this side, make sure we've got those squared off good or rounded off good. And that's pretty good. I think that's a good starting point. Now, this is the left one. I'm just going to leave the right one alone for now. I want to see how this left one turns out first. So the next thing I need to do is I need to figure out my stitching holes. And I'm going to grab my 4-prong stitching punch and my 2-prong, and on here I just want to look at it and see how far up the tongue I want to go. And then I'm going to mark that on the back side. With a pin. Then I'm going to lay this over and see how far that comes up when I stitch that. That'll give me an idea how far up the other side that I need to go. If I need to add a stitching hole or two at the end, I can do that. That's not a big problem. So I'll start here, and I want to put my stitches in not real far, so I think I'm going to go about .3/16 of an inch. So I'll measure 3/16 of an inch in from the side. That's where I'll punch my holes. Now, you got to remember that space, that 3/16 on each side, you're taking that space out of the inside of your shoe, your volume. So you want to be careful with that also. Then it's going to be stitched all the way around to here. So that would also be 3/16. So I'll mark it around that corner. And then I'll just connect those dots. And then my seam, I'm going to leave it out. I think my seam being on the outside with the stitches is going to look more authentic than trying to put them on the inside and hiding them. So I don't think I want to try to hide them. I want to leave them on the outside. So we'll see how that works out. So that's going to come all the way around, and this would be 3/16 also. All the way around this side. So you want to watch very carefully as you're marking this. So that you keep that 3/16 mark consistent, because if you're going to put your seam on the outside, because it's going to show. On the inside, it wouldn't matter that much. But on the outside, it is going to show. And I'm just going to make a couple of marks, draw a straight edge on this straight shot here, and then do a couple more marks here and connect those. One more at my ending point. Now, there's my ending point with my tongue. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. With the way this is going to come in and stitch. If you can see my 3/16 line that I'm going to use as a guide for my stitching holes. So I'm going to start on that end. Better put me a backer in there. And with this being a thinner leather, 4 to 6 ounces, then my stitching holes are going to be pretty simple to put in, pretty quick. Now I get down here where I'm going to start turning, and then I'll go to my 2-prong. Till I get around these corners. Then once I get around the corners, I can go back to my 4-prong punch and burn up a lot more territory. Much quicker. Now I come to that point, I'll just turn 90 degrees and continue. Again, turn. Now I'm to another corner. Use my 2-prong till I get around that radius edge. And then as soon as I get around that, I can go back to my 4-prong. I get to the end here, stop, and use my 2-prong. So there's my stitching holes. I don't know, get a good shot of those. Yeah, right down through there. You can see where the stitching punches come through. So now that side is ready to actually stitch. So I can go ahead and start here in this bottom corner and stitch all the way up and around. And I will do that by hand. So that will take a little bit of time. I'll do that off camera. So what I need to do to finish this portion is I need to go ahead and do this side with my stitching holes, then go to my right hand piece of leather for the right moccasin and do the exact same thing. Then I can go ahead and start stitching. Alright, I've got both my right and my left moccasin cut out, piece of leather. Again, I'm trying to do them all in one piece. So I've started, as you saw, on my stitching holes. So this part would be the tongue. Fold over and stitch all the way around up to here on the tongue. Then when I get toward the back, we'll do a little more customizing on how I'm going to cut this and make my seam for the back. So it will take the second video. That'll be next week. Come back. We'll see. We'll complete this project. Trying to condense these down as far as I can, but I don't want to go too far over 30 minutes of video. So I'm trying to keep that condensed. So this looks like it'll be a two-parter. So please come back next week or check out the next video. And I appreciate you coming along as always. And I appreciate the viewer that suggested this project. I think it's going to turn out pretty awesome, so come back and check it out. As I always say, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.